Hello and welcome everybody to the Chakra Way Meditation Podcast. Today, I know that I always call my interviews chakra chats, but I feel that this is going to be a chakra chat because today I'm talking to spiritual teacher, healer, and mentor Aline Ra M, who works in the most beautiful way of opening heart. It's all about the heart chakra. So we are going to go deep into the heart chakra and everything that Aline has to share with us. And I'm so grateful to you for joining me today, Aline. I have to confess to everybody, I'm not feeling on peak form today. I'm feeling not very well. So if I don't make sense or less sense than I normally do, then forgive me. But we're here with Aline and she's going to make sense. So
No pressure.
well,
Well, thank you so
welcome.
much for having me. I'm very excited to be here and sharing some heart tips with
Yeah.
you and everybody here. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like, the spiritual work that we do and that people are seeking seems somewhat sort of ethereal and ephemeral somehow. But I feel like you're going to bring us some really good practical stuff. But before we get into that, tell me a little bit about how you got to be where you are and what, how you came to be the spiritual teacher and healer.
How long do we have?
I don't know, about 40 minutes, 45
Yeah.
minutes, something like that.
All right. Okay, I won't just be talking about me, I promise. It's just well, I have two main episodes in my life that put me on this path. The
Mm,
first one was when I was a teenager. I could hear voices when I started. It started when I was around 10. It went all the way to 14, and it wasn't easy at all. It was quite scary.
mm,
And it put me in this place that I was both aware that something was out there, that life was much beyond the physical, and brought this curiosity of wanting to know, what is this? And at the same time, the awareness that not everything is love and light, and that I actually needed to protect myself. I needed to take energetic care of myself. And that put me straight away in the initiatory path. I got initiated in the Rosicrucian order when I was 14. And I've always been into initiation-based lineages. I've been initiated by many different lineages throughout my life so far. So this is how it began, which was very transcendental in a way, the mystical aspect, what is out there. I also had a pretty normal life. I went to university, I went to business school, I worked for many different companies. And eventually, in my late 20s, I was in a place where I didn't enjoy my life at all. I actually hated my life. And that brought me to a more grounded aspect of spirituality, seeing that spirituality was also about living a better life right here, right now, not only the mystical and the transcendental, but how to live right here, right now. That was the moment that I could bring these two aspects together. So I never thought I was going to work with spirituality. I had a very practical and regular life. I never shared about spirituality with people because my spirituality was so different, was really this weird voices that I heard and these different things that people could not really relate to. I was scared of being judged or called crazy. So I kept it to myself up until that point. And it was in my early 30s where I was full on in my spiritual path that I started getting messages telling me I was a spiritual guide, that I realized, okay, I'm actually going to work with this. I'm never going back to an office job again. This is what I came here to do. And this is where I've been for the past years now. So this is how actually, if you had asked me this 5 years ago, I would say I'm probably not going to work with this. So I'm just doing my path, you
yeah.
know?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. So I'm fascinated by all these initiations of the schools. So
Mm.
I mean, your heritage is you're Brazilian, right? I know you live
Yes.
in Spain, but your heritage is Brazilian, which conjures up the shaman and the, sort of interesting South American uh, initiations and so on. Is that where you started, or was it more Eastern philosophy?
Mm.
Because it's interesting because you're bringing it back to, heart chakra work,
Yes.
which is, I mean, it's global, obviously, but initially,
Mm.
I suppose it's Eastern Indian, isn't it?
Yes, and I mean, the heart is the intermediary between heaven and earth, and it's really uniting this transcendence with this grounding, how to bring these two sides of us together, body and soul, and how to be one beingness, spiritual being walking on planet Earth. So I think the heart is really this bridge between the two. And that's why it is so important in this path. We live in a world that is highly mental. We overthink, we overworry. And it's normal that we start on this path out of a self-care because we're being controlled by our minds. We're not enjoying our minds. And so we start on this path by calming the mind, by creating more spaciousness in our life. What we don't realize at that point, because we're so focused on healing what is not okay, we don't realize that the reason why we're actually doing that is just so that we can return to our hearts. So this is always kind of under the carpet up until the moment that we get there. The moment that we get there, we realize, aha, now I can live with joy, with lightness, with love. But this is actually what is driving us from the beginning. It's just that because of our pain, we just want to get rid of the pain. We're not realizing what lies on the other side. We cannot see it there from the beginning. Yeah.
There's it's obvious the human condition is to move away from pain towards pleasure. That is our sort of deepest animalistic desire, if you like. And we, you're right, this life, this modern life that we are living, A, is such a gift, but B, it is painful and it is hard work. And so, we use all sorts of different ways to escape it by numbing or indulging in various different things. But bringing it back to this heart chakra thing is so beautiful. I love this because you've got this earthly beneath and the ethereal below, and this, it's often called the bridge chakra. So working into this, what brought you to this? I mean, it's obvious, it's so clear. It's so, when you say it, it seems so obvious. But what was it? Did you have like an aha moment where you realized that this was your path, was the heart chakra, the heart center?
What happened to me in that sense was really about my own healing, because I was on the path for a long time, but from a mind perspective, I wanted to expand my mind, expand my consciousness, and lots of purification. I was really going all in, but focus more on that aspect of it. And what happened to me is that I actually started having pain on my chest. My chest started to physically hurt. And I knew it wasn't like a physical pain, although it was physical, but it was really my heart telling me like something's really wrong. You have to start paying attention to this. And this is when I started to heal myself. I didn't talk about the heart back then because it was still quite new to me. It was a new territory that I was exploring for myself. And when I started, it was brutal. It was physical pain. Like I could, like my breasts, it was really painful. And the way that I started tackling it, in my case, was through breast massages. Actually, that was the very first thing I did. So in the Tao tradition, you have many different breast massages techniques to flow stagnant energy and allow stagnant energy to remove from your heart so you can release it. I started from this angle with myself because of the physical pain. And I had a period of over 2 months that I did over 30 minutes of breast massage every single day. And I just needed to do that to move. It was a cathartic moment of my healing.
Yeah.
And once that phase finished, once I felt like, okay, the rough thing is out, then I started work with more subtle ways and more back to pranayama and more back to understanding certain subtleties about the heart chakra, because each chakra is connected to a different element, to a different sense in the body. And with that, we can start energizing the chakra and healing in different ways that are much more sensitive and tuned in with what we do in everyday lives. And this is where my understanding then really started to expand. And then I started feeling, okay, now I'm ready to share this knowledge with others. But it was really, yeah, if even when I was already a spiritual teacher, I wasn't focusing at first on the heart chakra. And it was, our own experience, our own challenges show us what, I mean, we have more commonalities than differences between us. And this is what the journey keeps on showing us, our lessons to share.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the more people I speak to, the more, on the podcast and clients and so on, the more I realize how much we all have in common in terms of how we suffer and how we process things and the traumas that we all share. And so, yeah, the commonality in is the fact that we all live in these energetic bodies and we all have these energetic centers. And I love that you brought the elements in. That's something that I really love working with, is I always bring back to the elements. And the element of the heart chakra is air,
Yeah.
and the
Yes.
pranayama breath work is key. And it's an interesting thing. I don't know if you've noticed this, but there's a real resurgence, or a not resurgence, I don't know, it seems like breath work has become like a really big thing recently.
Hmm.
There's a lot more people taking notice of the fact that your breath is quite important. It's just like, okay, catching up. Um, so, but you've done, because you've done, first of all, I want to go back to all these initiations, but we'll go there in a minute.
Yes.
So, but the trainings that you've done, uh, I noticed tantric yoga, tarot.
Mm.
Just talk me through some of the modalities that you've used in your own world, in your own life, for your own healing.
So I started, as I mentioned, in the Rosicrucian order, which is an initiatory lineage based in the Egyptian teachings.
Oh.
And so that was my first one. And then secondly, I was initiated in Gnosis, which also works much with breath, with sounds. I cannot really share what we go through, but I can give like a rough idea of what it is about. Um, and then I was initiated in Shibbolam Tantra, which is traditional Tantra. It's very different from what people think when they think about Tantra these days. It is truly based on mantras, mantra meditation, and fire ceremonies, and yantras, which are visual representations of mantras. So it's very focused. It takes a lot of discipline and a lot of just sit and on the mat and do your thing. Lots of yoga. I am a Tantra Hatha yoga teacher, so I do use that. Um, Actually, I use a lot of yoga in my work. Yoga is so much more rich than
Yes.
comes across in the modern world.
Exactly. And I want to just pause you there and ask you to tell me a bit more about your Tantra Hatha yoga. Because
Mm,
I come from a very, my tradition is Iyengar yoga, which is very physical, very straightforward,
mhm,
sanitized for the West. And I've developed out of that, my
mhm.
practice, and brought my own sort of style into it. But tell me about the Tantra Hatha yoga, because that sounds interesting.
Well, it comes from really Hatha yoga being the seed, the source of all yogas that has so much energetic components. I mean, as every yoga, but I think in Hatha this is conserved. The attention to what the energy is actually doing and what we're doing with each posture and why at an energetic level. Tantra yoga takes that one step further. So it is built on Hatha yoga. Yet we use our concentration and imagination, visualization a lot. So when I am in a posture in Tantra Yoga, I am going to pay attention to exactly the chakra that I'm working with. What is the movement that is doing? Because my concentration, my focus is taking that energy to do that as well. So in some yogas, we might hold the posture and stay there for a few seconds or maybe a few minutes. And normally you're just breathing or just relaxing and meditation in the posture. In Tantra Yoga, you stay in each posture at least 2 minutes. We say that if you stay less than that, energetically, it's not doing anything. So a
Right.
minimum of 2 minutes hold per posture. And in those minutes that you're holding the posture, you are visualizing exactly what the energy is doing and you're commanding the energy. This is the first level. Of course, you can get more advanced. You can add mantras and so on. But
Yes.
that is the basic aspect of it. You need to stay in the posture enough time for the energy to do anything,
Yeah.
and you need to command the energy. So you start, well, that is a huge part of my work, the understanding of how much we command or manipulate or our power over energy, because it is our energy. So
Mm.
we can channel and direct ourselves much more than we think.
Intention is so key to,
Yeah.
I mean, so many times when I'm teaching, if you get into a pose and you're saying, this is your so it can be two ways. So either like
Yeah.
our intention is to touch our toes. We may not be able to touch our toes, but that's the intention. That's the direction
Yeah.
in which you're traveling. So
Yeah.
whatever. But then there's that intention of feeling into the release or the letting go, or feeling the intention of understanding and being aware of the energy within the body as you go into a pose. So being aware, a set intention of rooting, for example, of
Yeah.
grounding. Or like today, this week, I'm teaching, and I just decided I'm sort of working my way through the chakras when I'm lacking in inspiration, which I seem to be at the moment. I just work my way through the chakras. So this week I'm teaching, excuse me, sacral chakra work, but not in just, we're not just going to go, oh, we're just doing hip work. I'm saying like we're using the element, we're using the water. And so we're trying to find fluidity and flow with the body. So like, and having an intention of visualizing, like a basin of water in the pelvis or whatever, and trying to keep it level, or whatever
Mm.
whatever
Yeah.
that is, in whichever pose. But I love that intention of energy, specific
Mm.
energy, because I'm often talking about, as I say, an intention to get to a certain place in your pose, or an intention of an idea. But the power of the mind is such that I truly believe that you can create space in your body just by imagining space in your body.
Yes. Yes, because the imagining space and the visualizing space is actually commanding space. And this is what people sometimes don't understand, the power of intention in the sense. It is direction. We are directing energy directly. This
Yeah.
is magic. This is magic work. And I mean, this is a healer because I work as a healer. I do many different activations and very different healing modalities. People are not very used to the kind of stuff that I do because it's very precise. It's not like I do Reiki as well. So when I say this, I mean with the utmost respect. I value it a lot. But when I'm doing Reiki, you're just like in a place and you're allowing the energy to go, right? You're more like just with your hands there and the energy does its thing and you're just being a pure channel empty for the energy to do things. Whereas in other healings that I do, I'm actually commanding what the energy is to remove and to put there instead. It's much more intentional in that sense. It's yeah, you really understand the power you have over energy. Of course you're still a channel, of course you were just a medium. I'm not saying that I'm the one actually doing it, but it's
Mm.
just the understanding of our potential, that what we can do through the power of our thoughts, of our minds, and the understanding of our place in the world, that we are much more than just humans, you know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's it's a really important thing to understand. And I think a lot of people who practice yoga, who go to a yoga class, they enjoy it, makes them feel good. But if they're not getting that understanding of what the intention of yoga can do for you, then they're missing out on a really, really good of it, for sure.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
sure, for sure. And I mean, after Tantra, I was initiated in the lineage of King Solomon, which is the one that I'm most active today. And in there, we work a lot with energy in that sense, with directing energy for good, for goodness, and for healing. For all healing is only a healing if you're supporting people to return to their own divinity, to open that space where they can see that there is such powers of energy. Just understanding that things like that can help us, it already opens a door in us. It's like it already asks us, it's like, what is it that is really happening in this planet if people can do this kind of session? So this is the first point, to just experience that. It's healing in itself. It opens us to miracles. It opens us to understanding reality as more than physicality. And then the second aspect of being able to get closer to our own purpose, to get clear, to get lighter, to understand the possibilities of life. That is healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the main things that I come across with my clients is that purpose, that
Mm.
purpose chunk. A lot of my clients are looking for their purpose, or they
Yeah.
feel like they've begun to understand their purpose, but they don't know how to get there, because life has got in the way, and they're on the rat run, they're on that, the hamster wheel of life, and it's seemingly impossible to jump off to do something else. So, but also finding purpose. There's a lot of people who come to me, and I'm so sure to you as well, who are going, this can't be it. This can't be just what I'm here for. I must have something else.
Yeah.
And so what's your perspective? What's your take on that? How do you help people
Yeah.
through that?
So first of all, it's amazing that people listen to their frustration and don't try to cope with it. Frustration is a gift. It's our soul calling us to like get moving, because this is not what you came here for.
Yeah.
So the first point is to really embrace that frustration, because it's trying to take you somewhere new within you. The thing about purpose, people are looking for purpose as if it was a thing outside of them. And purpose is being you. Your purpose is obvious when you can be just yourself.
Mm.
When you're looking for purpose, you're actually looking for yourself.
Yeah.
Something is not allowing you to be you. And because of that, you cannot see your purpose. When we have clarity, it's normally not an aha moment, like you wake up in the morning and you know that you're hungry. You have clarity that you're hungry. Like trumpets don't play. You just know it and you just go and eat, It's not a big deal. And it's the same thing with when we are with ourselves. We just know what we want to do. It's no big deal. It's like, I don't need to have a flag. This is my purpose, because I'm just being me. I'm just living my life. And
Yeah.
I'm not confused because I'm not being myself.
Yeah.
So
So it's kind of
when
like
people,
homecoming really to the self when you actually to feel that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And that's why when we feel lighter and everything is connected, we feel so good and we don't need to question anything, because at that moment we are being ourselves.
Yeah.
But then something happens that gets us worried, we get scared, fear is the main disconnector. And that moment we lose connection, we don't know anymore, and we get confused.
Mm.
So the clarity aspect, it's really understanding that it is about who am I, and being who we truly are. And I know it's something that all spiritual paths talk about. The main question is, who are you? And yet it's not that easy to understand the point of the question when you are beginning. It takes you being on the path for a little while to understand the depth of the question. What everybody looks for is purpose, which is a bit funny, because in a way it's looking for something to do,
Mm.
because we live in a world addicted to doing, and we just want to feel like we're doing the right thing.
Yes.
And that is an illusion, because it's not about doing the right thing. It's about being yourself and being fine being yourself and being comfortable being yourself and allowing yourself to be yourself. Because when those things happen, you don't even ask yourself your purpose. You were just being your purpose.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's so
Yeah.
it's so spot on, Aline, because when you just know, and it's not like, yeah, exactly like you say, it's not a big fanfare trumpets moment. It's just a sort of a deepening, a kind of, I always think of it as like a sort of a peg just slotting into the perfect, the perfect piece of carpentry, just slotting into the hole, and just like the joint is made and seamless, and it's just like, that feels just right, just right. And yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And so let's come to some of your ideas around heart healing that are practical for people. I mean, we've already talked about breath work, which is one of the best practical things that we can all do
Yeah.
for ourselves, is to just remember to sit and breathe, even if it's just for 5 minutes, just noticing the breath, or a deep ujjayi breath, whatever it
Yeah.
is. But what else do you prescribe? Because as a yoga teacher, my first port of call is always heart opening yoga poses, just actually feel into
Mhm.
the somatic work, let the body do the work for you rather than thinking about it. But yeah, let's hear your modalities and your ways.
Yeah, continuing this aspect of air, the element of air. So
Mm.
we have the breath, and then there's different ways we can play with it. We can sing, for instance. Singing is extremely healing. Talking to ourselves, sharing with ourselves out loud is extremely healing. Many people journal, which can be good. It's just that journal is still quite mental in a way. We are activating our minds quite a bit. Whereas when we just talk to ourselves, and when I say without thinking, just let ourselves talk openly, spontaneously, the voice is a healing instrument. All the different vibrations of the voice, they start moving things that are stagnant in us. They make different parts of our bodies vibrate. Just think with yourself, how many times were you having a very serious conversation with somebody and you made a whole script in your mind, like, this is my point, this is what I'm going to say. And then you start saying it and you cannot keep your face. You start laughing or crying, all the emotions come through and you say things completely different. This is the power of the voice, because it's activating your heart, your emotions, just the vibration itself as an instrument. So working with the voice, just sharing with yourself and praying to yourself, just instead of journaling, doing the same thing, but instead of being silent with a pen, just speak out loud as an exercise with yourself and see what comes through.
Yeah.
Extremely healing. Putting like a timer of 10 minutes and just finishing the time, because sometimes when we do this, what happens is that we feel like we don't have anything to say and we give that as an excuse to go do something else. But I always ask people to put a timer, like 10 minutes of your checking in with yourself out loud. And if you have nothing to say for 2 minutes, it's completely fine. Just sit there with yourself and allow your heart to come and speak up when it's ready. Let's just start opening. Spaciousness is a quality of the heart. A heart that is light as a feather, it's a spacious heart. How do we cultivate a spacious heart? It is about giving and receiving, the balance of being able to receive love and being able to give it back, not allowing anything to stagnate within us. Some people are very great givers, but we cannot give what we don't have. We need to fill our cups first, and then we overflow. Other people receive a lot, and we can say that many people in this world are all about just getting and not giving. And this is one of the biggest delusions that we can experience in life, because that puts us in a place where we actually have a lot of pain. We cannot stop wanting more because we think that is going to be the solution for, despite having everything, not being fine. But it's because if we're just receiving, we are out of balance. That creates a stress in our emotional bodies. And we need to let go. When we have too much inside of us and cannot let go, we start it's like trying to put 3 liters of water in a glass that can only take 1. You are going to stress the material. It's going to start trying to overflow, but we are not allowing the overflow. And that creates pain in us. But most of the time, this works unconsciously, and we are not aware of why we are in pain. So this ability to give and receive, how to balance them, it's critical. And something I work a lot with people. Now, how can we work with that? We can work through the breath. I recommend a lot people working with samavriti, which is breathing in and out equally. So say you breathe in a count of 4 and breathe out in a count of 4. This is great to start shifting the energy and balancing us. Because when you're breathing in, you're taking in life. And when you're breathing out, you are releasing life. If we see, most of us have a facility to breathe out. It's very difficult for many of us to breathe in and expand our breathing capacity. We are already out of balance. So a way to start working on this at an energetic level is by training ourselves to equalize breathing in and out. This has a great effect in our hearts. So it's a first step because it's a simpler step. Another step is to work on gratitude. It's something that we talk a lot about. It's a super important aspect to actually feel gratitude. It's not a mental acknowledgement.
It's a sensation, isn't it?
Yes.
Real gratitude. I always try to describe it when I'm teaching it, and is like, it feels like you've got just like little bubbles rising up and you feel like a glass of champagne. Like you feel that rising through you. It's an absolute sensation, gratitude. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is the receiving aspect, is the ability to receive from life, to receive from others, to receive from God, to receive from ourselves. And then there's a counter aspect, which is forgiveness, which is letting go. Everything cannot forgive is weighting our hearts down. That hurts us so much more than we think. And forgiveness is much more trickier for most people than gratitude. It is a crucial aspect of opening the heart.
Yeah.
And forgiveness is not only about other people, it's about ourselves. What can we forgive ourselves
That's the
for?
biggest work, is to forgive ourselves. That's the toughest one, because we're our own worst enemies sometimes, our own worst critics. You know, that inner voice can be so cruel sometimes. And yeah, to actually let go of that and forgive the self is a big work, is a big thing to do, an important thing to do, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, we can start small, you know, we can forgive something that happened on this very day. Like somebody who cut me on the street while I was driving, I forgive that driver, you know, or something that happened when we were kids, maybe another kid broke our toy. We can start in kind of funny ways just to become a habit. What I suggest people, because many people these days do like gratitude lists every night, you know, like they stop to have these gratitude moments. My suggestion to also do at the same time a forgiveness check-in for that day and balance. What is it that you're not going to take to bed with you? So I'm grateful for this in this day, and I forgive this day. This is balancing, receive and let go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Balancing. I love that. Yeah, you're right. Forgiveness is the others, you know, gratitude is going up, forgiveness is coming back down again, and we find that level. I love that. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. So when somebody comes to you, Aline, with, I mean, what do you, when somebody comes to you saying, I need help in whatever aspect of their lives, do you have containers? Do you work one-to-one? How do you work?
I work mostly one-to-one, so I offer discovery calls where people can have a 30-minute chat with me and we can see exactly what is it that they're going through, what are the blockages and the challenges, and if there's anything I can help with. Because I work with quite different methods. I have like more coaching programs and spiritual development programs, also healing sessions and also online course. So it really depends on what the person is going through. I do give classes for groups as well, but those are more ad hoc. It depends on where I am in the planet.
You're all over the planet at the moment,
Yeah.
which is beautiful. I'm wondering if there's, because I mean, I did précis this by saying I'm not feeling great myself. So I'm going to ask you, is there anything else that I should be asking you? What's your real hot topic that you love to talk about? I mean, you've given us so much great value already. I feel like if sometimes when I have a guest on and they, you know, we talk for however long, but I feel like if you can just take away one thing, and you've given us like this idea, the work that you've already given us for the heart is so precisely beautiful, it's so beautifully formed. But what else do you want to share with everybody, Aline?
What I would like to share today is a reminder that the heart is very strong. The heart is not weak. Sometimes people think that because the heart is love, that love means to accept everything, to always be kind. Sometimes love is very firm. Sometimes love puts boundaries and says no out of love, because love protects love. Love doesn't allow somebody else to step on love. And I feel this, our generation and the generation that is coming after us really needs to remember that sometimes we need to fight for love, that love doesn't mean to just allow everything. To regain that love has these two sides, that the queen and the king that are benevolent and take care of their people and their kingdom is love. But the king and the queen that also dare to go to war to protect their people is also love. So love has these two aspects, and we need to know that a parent that loves their children, though, doesn't allow them to eat ice cream all the time. They will be able to say no out of love.
Yeah.
Because love is nurturing, and out of nurturing, we need to know what is supporting that which I love to grow. And sometimes that means watering a plant, and sometimes it means not watering a plant, because over watering a plant can also kill the plant.
Mm.
So love is not being on top of everything and doing everything for it. It's discernment. Discernment that sometimes it's yes and sometimes it's no. Love is allowing that which we love to grow, and that requires strength. Yeah.
So let that one sink in. Honestly, you've filled my cup today. Thank you, Aline. Tell people how they can get hold of you.
So, my website is alineram.com. That's the best place to go. And there's quite a few different free classes and free guides for you to dive into my work. If you would like to go deeper, that's the best place to begin. You can also find me on Instagram, aline.ra.m. That's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Aline, so much for today. I appreciate you so deeply. You've really spoken truth, and it's so pure. I just don't feel like I need to ramble, apart from the fact I'm not feeling great. But thank you so, so much.
That's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.